On a scale of 0 to 10, be honest. How much are you trusting God with your plans? On a scale of 0 to 10, I want you to be honest. How much are you trusting God with your plans? Not just your little itty bitty plans, but your big life plans. That's what we're going to tackle today. We're going to tackle this idea of trusting God with your life plans. A lot of you guys are wanting to make that jump, say, I'm stuck here, I'm stuck here, I'm stuck here. I want to jump to that next level. How do I do it? How do I get there? Man, things haven't been going well. How do I get there? Here's how you get there. You trust God with your plans. You trust God with your plans, all right? And we're going to dive right into that today. Hey, it's Dr. Dale here. This is Permission to Be Great. You know what I'm going to ask you to do. If you like the content we make, hit subscribe. If you've never seen the content we make, hit subscribe. If you don't like the content we make, hit subscribe anyways, all right? Hit subscribe. Let's get these subs up. All right. So look, I really want to dive into this topic because, I do a lot of coaching for healthcare professionals, and so many of them are kind of stuck and they feel like they want to break through to this next level and they can't get to that next level. And I see the fear, I see the trepidation, I see everything in their minds about why they can't get to that next level. And what I believe is at the foundation of all of it is there is a lack of trusting God with their plans. We can say, oh, I'm not ready for this yet, or a lot of stuff. And this is what people do say, but also this is going on in my life. There's been this, there was even death, right? There's always something that's going on. Life be life. Life be life. But guess what? Life will always be life until Jesus comes back. So if we cannot figure out how to trust God with our plans, life going to keep on life, and we're just going to be stuck and never get to these levels we want to get to. So how do we do it? Let's dive in right now, all right? Bust out my tablet. Let me hit record. I'm going to take some notes, right? And I really want you guys to take notes too, because there's some good stuff. Keep your own journal on Permission to Be Great. Take notes. Ask yourself questions. Go through this stuff because this will help you grow. All right. So say we're talking about don't make fun of my chicken scratch, right? Trusting God with your plans, right? And really it's trusting God with your life, but we're just going to touch on trusting God with your plans. All right, a few key things that you need to do to trust God with your plans, right? To get to that level. And I'm talking about trusting God with your plans, but really it's a few key things to make a breakthrough. The first one right here is understand who God is, right? I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know everything about God, because guess what? I don't. I absolutely do not know everything about God. I'm not going to sit here and even begin to pretend that. But there are certain things that I believe in the Bible, right? There are certain foundational principles, concepts that the Bible gives us about God. And even beyond that, there's certain things I can look outside and I can see creation and I can say, this did not come from itself, right? I've got this watch on my hand. This is Apple Watch. This Apple Watch did not make itself. If I take a hammer, if I smash this Apple Watch into a million pieces, I put them in a bag and I throw them up a million times and see where they land, it will never build itself back into an Apple Watch. It just won't happen. You got some people that'll say, oh yeah, no, it's not going to happen. It will not happen, okay? Same thing as this universe, which is exponentially more complex than an Apple Watch. It did not build itself, right? I'm getting a little bit off topic here, but I'm going to do it because it's this important, right? And people say, well, okay, you said the world was made by God. Who made God? The issue there is when you're assuming somebody made God, you're not talking about the same God that I'm talking about. You're not talking about the same God that a lot of us are talking about, because God was not created. You have to understand this about causality. There has to be an uncaused cause. There has to be an uncaused cause. There has to be something, some being, some form of existence that has always been. There has to be something that was not created. You call it whatever you want. I'm saying that something that was not created is a being. It is God. And God is intelligent. And in this book here, God has given us a glimpse into who he is, right? So that's what I'm referring to. So the first thing is understand who God is. Just by understanding what I just said there, you understand that I believe God is the creator, right? So check it out. We just bought, our kids got some video game sets, right? So we got a Nintendo Switch in our house, and we just bought a PlayStation for our kids. We're not big gamers, and they don't play all that much. My younger son plays a bit. My older son will rarely play. He'll just get on there and play some 2K, maybe something else with his brother. But we just bought it. And it got me thinking about this situation. Imagine if the video game creator, somebody creates a video game and they come and they give it to you and they say, hey, man, I just made this game. I want you to play it. Right. And you're playing the game like, oh, this is nice, man. I'm loving this game. And the creator sitting next to you saying, no, don't do that. Oh, go in that door, turn left, go right. And you're like, nah, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to do my own thing. Right. That's what we do in life a lot of times. We know that God is the creator. We have an idea as to what God wants us to do, and if you don't, right, that means we just need to get a little closer to this book called the Bible, right, and spend time in prayer, relationship with God, and follow the plans that have been laid out for us. Follow the plans that have been laid out for us. If you're playing a video game, why would you not listen to the video game creator telling you how to beat the game? Same thing in life. You've got to trust the creator. Trust the creator. Um, Along that lines, I watched this thing about NBA Jams. NBA Jams was this huge basketball game when I was growing up, a super famous game when I was growing up. And the makers of the game, what they said was, they just now admitted it, right? And this is what, 30 years later or something. They said that they put a little secret conspiracy thing in the game where if the Chicago Bulls were playing against the Detroit Pistons, and it was a close game, the Bulls took the last second shot, that the Bulls would always make that shot. I believe that's what it was, right? The Bulls would always make that shot, right? So imagine being the Pistons, playing Pistons, and playing against somebody, and you're trying to beat the Bulls, and you can never do it because the maker has put in a cheat code. That's what trusting God is like, right? You have to understand, what does the maker, the creator want, and what is he giving us to do it, right? So understanding that God, let me just take this note here, God is the maker. So what does that mean? That means that he knows all the secrets. He knows the secrets. And I understand some people might not believe in the Bible, but I might have to do this for a different lesson, but I want to tell you, there's so many things in the Bible to make me believe it. I can't even begin to go into that. There's just so many things that would take days and days, right? But I want to tell you one thing that in particular blew my mind, right? One thing specifically, the Bible talks about this prophecy. The Bible is the only self-fulfilling prophetic book, right? The Old Testament prophesies Jesus, in the New Testament, Jesus then refers to the Old Testament for confirmation, right? So the Bible, people say circular reasoning, is actually not, but the Bible is the only book that can kind of confirm itself, right? So prophecy, I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but what I want to tell you is, and you can do the study on your own. If you go in the Bible, and if you take the names of the patriarchs, right, start with Adam, go through the lineage of Seth, and go all the way down. It's going to look like this. So Adam equals man. Seth equals, and these words might be slightly off, but in general, this is the translation, appointed. So Adam said, keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. And what is going to end up writing out when you take the first names of the patriarchs, is going to end up saying, man appointed. I'm just writing this down so you guys can actually see it. Mortal sorrow. So this is the translation of the names of the patriarchs. So man appointed mortal sorrow. The blessed God will come down teaching. It's just that his death will bring the despairing, I spelled despairing, I don't know how to spell despairing, rest. Right. How we spell despairing? Somebody spell check that for me. Man appointed mortal sorrow, the blessed God will come down teaching that his death will bring the despairing rest. Right. Again, that's taking the first names of the patriarchs and just translating them. And it might not be this verbatim, but something along that line. But what I need you to understand here is, this was written way before Jesus. This was written by people who might not even know fully understand prophecy. So from the very start of the Bible, the names, the big plan that God has, you can see it in the whole story of life of humanity, right? This is not something that anybody could predict. It's not, I'm going to name my son, I'm going to call you this because it's going to fit the prophecy, right? When you go back and you realize how many things like this are in the Bible, it's amazing. Again, these are the first names of the patriarchs, right? The first names of the man, just passing down through the lineage. So Adam had a son, so he had Cain and Abel, but you know what happened with Cain and Abel, right? Cain kills Abel, that jazz. So it goes through Seth, right? And Seth has a son. He has a son. He has a son. He has a son. Keeps on going all the way through, down through Noah, right? And you have to realize this is God at work, right? So when I see this, when I see the prophecy, and this is just one of a whole bunch of prophetic stuff, right? You see in the Bible, right? That just can't be made up. And when I see these things, it just lets me know God creator. God is a creator. God has put this in there. And when you understand that, when you truly understand that, it's crazy, right? And something else to think about when we're thinking about who God is, as the creator, man, he's brilliant. He's brilliant. I've got the Bible verse here on my screen here. This verse verse in Isaiah 55, 8, 9. Now, I go to this verse a lot of times when I'm stumped and I'm thinking like, well, why would God do that? Why that doesn't make sense? Why would we do that? Why would we do that? Why would we do that? I don't believe that, because why would somebody do that? I have to realize that I am not God. And this verse in Isaiah reminds me of it. It says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, right? Neither are my ways your ways, declares the Lord. For as high as the heavens are above the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as high as the heavens are above the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts above your thoughts. Basically, God is saying, hey, look, you're not on my level. You're not on my level. And when you understand that, that's who God is. And we've got the creator, the cheat code, the one who could give us. When you understand that, it's so much easier to say, okay, I'm going to trust that person. Again, why would you not trust the maker of the video game if you're sitting right next to you, right? So that's the first thing. That's the first thing you need to get. If we're talking about trusting God with our plans, is first of all, you got to understand who God is, right? You might not trust him if you don't understand who he is, but you need to take a moment to understand who God is. And I'm saying all these things, I'm giving you like intellectual approaches to trying to become closer to God. I would challenge you, spend time in prayer, spend time in silence, spend time in the Bible, spend time reflecting. I dare say that's more important than trying to solve it intellectually, even though I believe you can solve it intellectually. You can see things, but spend time in that. The man with the highest IQ in the world has been working on the proof of God, right? He believes in God. He says in him, it's basically impossible for God not to exist, right? He's been working on proof. This is the man with the highest IQ in the world. So intellectually, yes, you can get there. However, personally, relationally, I think that's more important. The second thing you want to understand when you're working on trusting God is I believe God has plans for you. God has plans for you, right? God has plans for you, and I'm gonna go. There's a Bible verse that everybody always talks about, and it's actually I've got it here. It's Jeremiah 29:11. Jeremiah 29:11. And everybody always reads this one verse, but what I want to do is I actually want to let me make note of here so you guys can see it here. So Jeremiah 29:11. And I want to read a little bit more of it than most people read, okay? A little bit more of it than most people read. And that's because we just read it and we don't really think about the greater context of it. But let me tell you the context. Jeremiah 29:11. So it's prophecy, and basically what God is doing is he's discussing this idea of, hey, you've been exiled. Excuse me, you've been exiled out of your homeland, the land that I have for you. You've been exiled, you've been sent out of that land, and you're going through some struggle, a lot of stuff, but he's talking to Israel. He's not talking to like a specific person here. This is a prophecy to Israel, a group of people, and essentially saying you're gonna struggle, you're gonna have hard times, but support this land that I've exiled you to. I've authorized it. Yes, I know you're there. I'm okay with it. I authorized it. Support it, because when they do well, you do well, right? And of course, people are struggling. They don't want to be there. They want to be in your own homelands. This is where Jeremiah 29:11 comes in. Let me find it. I want to read more than just what we're accustomed to hearing. Okay, I'm going to read kind of from 10 through 14, 15 or something. Okay, it says, for this is what the Lord says. When 70 years for Babylon are complete, right? Exile to Babylon. When 70 years for Babylon are complete, I will attend to you and will confirm my promise concerning you to restore you to this place. So God made a promise. God makes promises. Does God have promises for you in your life? Right? Has God made promises for you in your life? Right? My promise concerning you to restore you to this place. This is the verse that everybody always talks about. For I know the plans I have for you. This is the Lord's declaration. Plans for your welfare, not disaster, to give you a future and a hope, right? And this is when everybody always kind of kind of stops there. But let me keep on reading here. Okay. You will call to me and come and pray to me. You will call to me, come and pray to me. Everybody stops at the old plans. He's got great plans for us. But listen to what else he's saying. You will call to me. Are you calling to God? Right? You got to know who God is. But after you know who God is, are you calling to God? You want these dreams, you want your visions, you want all these things to happen. Are you calling to God? Back at it. All right. You will call to me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. And I will listen to you. God is telling you what's going to happen, how this thing works here. You will call to me and come to me and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. This is what God's telling them. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. You want your dreams to come true. You want to get that job. You want to get that house. You want to get out of poverty. You want to move your mom up. You want better health, right? You want the sick to be to not be sick. You want the hungry to not be hungry. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. You want these things. Are you searching for God with all your heart? Not just you. I got to check myself too. I got to ask myself, am I searching for God with all my heart? And here's what he says. I will be found by you. This is the Lord's declaration. And I will restore your fortunes and gather you from all the nations and places where I banished you. Yes, God might have banished you. You might be in a place in life, a dark place in life, and saying, oh man, why do I have to be here? I don't want to be here. Well, hey, God, trust me, God has authority over that. God knows you're there. If you're there for whatever reason, God has allowed it to happen. But rewind a little bit. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. I will be found by you. This is the Lord's declaration, and I will restore your fortunes. You don't have to be stuck there. For I know the plans I have for you. This is the Lord's declaration. I will restore you to the place you departed from. I deported you from. That's what's really going on in Jeremiah 29:11. Everybody just reads that one part, but there's so much more to it. It's like, oh yeah, God's got, hey, look, God is saying, I've got good stuff for you. Are you seeking? Are you praying? Are you in communication? Are you asking, right? Are you asking God? You want these things to happen. You're talking about, can I trust God with my plans? Well, are you seeking God? Are you talking to God? Are you asking God? Right? I've got some other verses here I had pulled up on my screen here. Proverbs 19:21. Many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it's the purpose of the Lord that will stand. Many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand. You've got your own plans, but guess what? Your plans aren't God's plans. And if God has an assignment for you that you can accomplish, do you really think that assignment is not going to get accomplished by somebody? Do you really think God's like, oh man, if Dale don't do it, oh man, I got to go through and this whole plan is much. Do you think that God doesn't have this thing figured out? All right. Many are the plans in the minds of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand. Right. In Proverbs 3:5-6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and what? Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make straight your path. Remember these things. And the point I'm emphasizing this so much because we get so caught up. We say, oh, I want to do great things. I'm ready for that next level. I'm here, baby. It's time for me to step up. I'm ready to go to the next level. I got it. I got it. I got it. I. Wait, God, what do you want? Because trust me, God's plans are going to come to fruition with or without you. God's plans will come to fruition. Right. So understand that God does have a plan for you and you can be a part of this. You can be part of it. We got to take a step back and realize it's not about us, right? The story, I've got to write this down. You are not the main character. There's this thing, kids say nowadays, my son's always like, man, he got the main character energy. He think he the main character, man. That's the main character. He walk around all day like he got the main character energy. Well, guess what? You are not the main character. None of us are. I'm not the main character. God is the main character. Jesus is the main character. We're not the main character, right? And the sooner we get to realize that, the faster we can say, "Okay, God, what are your plans?" And guess what? If God has plans, don't you think they'll be good for you? I think about the plans I've got for my kids, right? Right. It's early in the morning right now. My kids are sleeping, or either they're about to get up or something, right? I have good plans for them today, right? I've got plans for education. I've got plans to teach them things. I've got plans for health. I've got plans for good food for them. I've got plans for them to be safe today. I've got plans for them to come back to a nice, safe bed, well rested, knowing that they're protected and safe. And if anybody runs up in this house, they're going to get met with something, right? So I've got plans for safety, for prosperity, for good things for my children. They're going to struggle through. I'm going to make them work their way through that. I'm going to make them struggle so they grow through that. But I've got plans. If I've got these plans for my kids, don't you think God's got even better plans for you? Don't you think God's got even better plans for you? All right. So the first thing, understand who God is. The second thing is understand that God has plans for you, right? God has plans for you. And, you know, a lot of times these plans, before I move on to the next one, these plans might not always work out the way you want. I think about Steve Jobs, right? I'm sitting here, I've got my Apple tablet. My wife is launching an Apple YouTube channel, by the way. So, go check it out. I think we're launching it now. So Dr. Janae, and she's been calling it My Take on Tech or something like that. Dr. Oko, I should say, is what she goes by. So we got a lot of Apple stuff in this house. So I got an Apple phone, I got a Apple desktop behind me. I've got my tablet here. I've got my laptop to watch whatever. My wife's an Apple person, and that's what we do. And we got Apple stock. Okay, I just got to throw that in there. If you're gonna be doing all this Apple, you better buy some stock. But Steve Jobs had his own plans. Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, had his own plans, and he built this awesome company. But guess what? Eventually, his plans got thwarted. He got thrown out of his own company. He got ousted, I should say, out of his own company that he built, his vision, his ideas. Right? He got kicked out of it. So sometimes the plans don't go the way we think. But what ends up happening? He ends up getting pulled back into his own company because they needed him. He got brought back into his own company. He didn't see that coming. He probably thought this is done, it's over. God works in ways that we don't understand. And when he came back, Apple became so much better. And look at the impact of maybe some negative stuff too, but look at the way it's facilitated life. The fact that I'm getting this message out to you right now, and I pray that it's hitting you in a way that's going to have you seek God, have you chase God, to understand, God, what are your plans for me? I want to achieve those plans, and I want to chase those plans. I'm recording this on Apple devices right now, right? So just think about that. Jobs thought it was over. God worked his magic. And for me, the best part of that story, I hope, they talk about as Steve Jobs, I don't know if it's true or not, but as he was, he was sick. Obviously, he died of pancreatic cancer. As he approached that time in his life, that he started to, follow God more, or consider God, out of salvation. I don't know. It's my prayer. I hope so, but I'm not quite sure. And then the third thing I want to talk about is, so now we know, okay, you got to understand who God is. You got to understand that God has plans for you. And number three, once you understand those things, you have to take action, right? I'll say act in faith. Let's say that. Act in faith. It's one thing to have an intellectual, theoretical knowledge of these things. It's another thing to take the step, right? Take the step. I can think of several times in the Bible, and I've actually got some verses pulled up here, right, where Jesus, before healing somebody, doing a miracle, he had somebody act first, right? It's like it's not like Jesus, like prime example, right? Jesus walking on water, disciples see Jesus walking on water. Peter's nervous, he's afraid, right? He says, Lord, if it's you, command me to come out to you, right? I think Peter wanted it, right? He wanted to believe. He walks out there, right? In order for him to walk on the water, what does he have to do? He's got to take a step out of the boat, right? If Peter didn't take that first step, if he didn't act in faith to believe enough to actually step onto the water out of the boat, there's no belief. The plans don't happen. If Peter doesn't do that, we don't get the story. We don't know the story, right? If we don't know the story, then that's one less thing for us to have that faith and that trust and belief for some of us, right? It's that first step, right? There was blind people. Jesus spit in the mud. rubbed it on the guy's face, his guy's eyes. He said, "Go wash." I believe in the pool of Siloam. Go wash it off your face. Jesus didn't have to spit in mud and put it on the guy's eye and send the guy to go walk. Jesus could have healed. Jesus could have healed a man. I believe Jesus could just heal the man. Right? It's an act of faith. It's showing, Kate, do you trust me? If you trust me, you'll be willing to take this first step. Right? If you trust me, you'll be willing to take this first step. All right. Another one, I got it here, Luke 17:14. When he saw them, he said, "Go and show yourselves to the priests." And they went and they were cleansed, right? The lepers, right? So there's certain things, Jesus would say, "Go do this." Then the miracle happens. So you can't be sitting right. We got this backwards. We wait for the miracle to happen. Right? We wait for this assurance, this evidence. We want to be 100% certain that we are good before we act and take the first step. Right? Martin Luther King said, "Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase." Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. Martin Luther King. All right. So you understand, I don't know what I just did. I'll put my eraser on. I did not mean to do that. But you understand who God is, right? That's the first thing. You understand who God is. Get my pen back here. Understand who God is. He's a creator. He's a maker. He knows the answers to the test, and he's trying to give them to you. Get comfortable with that. After you're comfortable with that, you got to understand, hey, God has plans, right? And I believe God has plans for you, right? And you know, I didn't dive into this, but part of figuring out what those plans are is spending time in prayer, spending time in meditation with God, spending time thinking. And man, this probably needs to be another video also. But briefly, I'll just say part of figuring out what God's plans are for you is, there's a great book, Acres of Diamonds. In the book, this guy's going across the whole world trying to figure out, get his riches, whatever, trying to figure life out. And then he comes back and he realizes this whole time he's been sitting on acres of diamonds, right? You are where you need to be to take the next step. Think about the gifts God has given you, the people who are around you, the resources you already have. Your next step for you to take it, you are where you need to be, right? And maybe your next step is something small to get you to where you're going to be. But right now, you have the things that God wants you to have for you to at least take the next step, even if it's a baby step. You are where you need to be. Can't keep saying, well, when I get there, when I got to wait. There's a place for patience, but trust me, for the very next immediate step, you are where you need to be. But you have to take the step. You've got to take the step. You've got to put that foot out. You've got to, you can't see the whole staircase, but you've got to climb it. You've got to get on there. All right. You want God to work miracles in your life. You want God to take you to that next level. At least do your part. At least do your part. Right. And I believe God's always going to give us a choice. Adam and Eve, right? The original sin, this huge thing that has led humanity into the spiral that we're in, right? Is it possible that God could have said, hey, I'm going to make it so they can't even see that fruit and have it? I don't know, but I imagine so. I imagine God could have done that. But God wanted to give them that choice. So God might have the best plans for you, the greatest plans for you in the world. And you might see that vision in your head. You might see it in your head. I tell you, I drive around the city. I look at stuff. I look at people's houses, things like this. And, I just think about what could be, what can be. And granted, I'm in a position that I'm extremely pleased with. But I look at these things and you start to see visions and things of that sort. These things don't come to fruition without you doing your part, right? God doesn't have to have you do your part, but it's a sign of faith. You got to do your part, right? So act. Take that step. Take that step. All right, my friends. So again, trusting God will take you to levels unseen in your life. All right. This happened to me. All right. I've gone from places that I didn't think I could go to, that I never really thought about. And these visions start happening. I'm not talking about like creepy visions, like seeing the future. No, I don't have none of that. Right. But visions in terms of strong convictions, in terms of where I can go in life and what I should be doing. I spend time in prayer. I come back to realize who God is. I realize that, hey, there's a plan for me. And then I act in faith. That's how you get to the next level. That's how you do it. All right, fam, man, look, use these notes, use this in your life. Again, journal weekly, right? Jot these notes down. Ask yourself the questions. Apply it to your life, right? When we come back next week for the next video, I want you to have grown, right? When you come back next week and watch my next video, I want you to have grown since this video today. All right. So let's do this. Remember, all you got to do is trust God, keep your faith, and no matter what you do, keep moving forward. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, like, share with your friends, all that great stuff. And remember, you have permission to be great. I'm praying for you and I love you.